Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Back again already. So by now, I'm sure most of you have heard, the Star Wars attraction, the Galactic Starcruiser, is going to unfortunately close down, and it seems permanently. And ultimately, for a while, I didn't think I had much to add to this conversation, but I got to thinking about it, and I got to thinking about certain things that I felt about this attraction in the past. I've never gotten to go and see it, and by the way things are playing out, it seems likely that that's now never going to ever be a thing. I think what might come to surprise you is I never really appreciated the very idea of this particular attraction, and it specifically had to do with the cost, because when I found out that this was an attraction that costs like $5,000 to $6,000 for 2 nights, that is when, in my mind, this actually became the first real bad thing Disney's done with Star Wars. The first real disappointment that made me think, oh, why'd you do that, Disney? That was dumb. And that's because whenever I looked at this attraction, whenever I saw how much it cost to attend, all this attraction said to me was, come and see our really cool Star Wars attraction if you can afford it. And that's the thing that always irked me, is because Star Wars is meant for everybody. It's meant to be accessible to everybody, not just the 1% of people who can shit out $5 to $6 grand for a 2-night luxurious vacation on a yacht. And really, whenever I was humoring the idea of maybe trying to save up money and going to see this attraction for myself at some point, every single time the thought came to mind is, why in the fuck would I spend $5,000 to $6,000? Actually, probably $7,000 to $8,000, given that I would have to be flying from the West Coast to the East Coast just to go there. But why would I spend that much money when I could literally spend half that amount for the same amount of time, get all this same experiences, and still have plenty of money to buy some of the souvenirs that they have at their Star Wars attraction in Disneyland? And every single time I just said to myself, because they have exclusive stuff for the Star Wars attraction on the yacht? And really, that was just never enough to pull me in. And I think that's really why ultimately this attraction failed. And maybe I call it a failure, and maybe Disney is looking at like, we ran this for over a year, getting people to show up, paying $5,000 to $6,000 for 2-night stays. We did okay. We did all right. And there could be a number of reasons why they're closing it down. The conflicts going on between Disney and Ron DeSantis in Florida. And for all we know, they could be announcing right now that the Galaxy Cruise is being closed down in Florida, and by next year, California is going to be getting their own Galaxy cruise ship, right? We never know until we know. That's just how things work. But in a way, I'm sort of kind of on the fence about things. On one hand, I don't like seeing anything fail. I want to see everything succeed. I don't look for failure. I don't want things to fail. I want everything to work. But what I would hope is that, having made the decision to close down this attraction, what I would hope Disney takes away from this, if anything, is that they learn Star Wars is something that is supposed to be for everybody. It is supposed to be accessible to everybody, not just the 1% of people who can shit out $5,000 to $6,000 to stay for 2 nights at their attraction. And I do understand that when it comes to Star Wars, there isn't anything really that you can acquire from it that doesn't at some point cost some kind of money. From buying the books, watching the movies, playing the video games, everything has a cost. And I understand that. But the accessibility for those things is really kind of universal. Not everyone, however, has the luxury to spend $5,000 to $6,000 for a 2-night luxurious stay in a fancy hotel, essentially. Really, this was just about greed. This was just about getting as much money as humanly possible. Disney needs to learn to not make things exclusive with Star Wars. And that's another thing that even has me a little bit irked about the Galaxy's Edge attraction. They have items there that you can only get from the Galaxy's Edge attractions, meaning you have to pay to get inside just to pay for the items that they sell there. And I understand that that's some kind of marketing tactic. I get it. I just don't agree with it. Any more than I agree with having this attraction that is so absurdly expensive at a time when people are struggling to pay for food. It's not really that much of a surprise to me that they're closing it down. Really, the only thing that surprises me is that it lasted as long as it did. But again, it's not that I wanted to see this attraction fail though. I would have much rather Disney just sort of realize like, oh, this was probably a little bit tone deaf and we probably brought this out at a really bad time. Maybe we can try and find ways of making things a little bit cheaper and still have this really fun and awesome experience without being just this ludicrously expensive experience that only a very small portion of people can realistically afford. I find myself very fortunate that I can every couple of years get to go to Disneyland just by itself. But I still have to save a lot of money to make that happen, for the transportation costs, the food costs, all to just get to California before I even pay to get inside, let alone pay for the cool stuff that they have. And I know it might be a little absurd for a multi-billion-dollar business to take into consideration their target audience, as we would call it. I just think what would make these attractions work so much better is if there wasn't as much exclusivity. They have all these really cool costumes and props for sale, but you can only get it from the attractions themselves. And what's cool right now is a lot of those exclusive items are currently for sale on the Disney website, but before that, the only way you were realistically going to get those items without actually going to those attractions is getting them off of eBay at a jacked up price. And it's like, if Disney doesn't want that kind of black marketing to go on for their exclusive items where people are going to be making more off of the items than they are, they should just bring those items online. And even still, there is still that exclusive experience that you'll never get from just ordering an item online. Even if they put those customizable lightsabers on their Disney websites like I want them to, you'll never get that experience of going to build it in Savi's workshop. You'll never get to see the Millennium Falcon in real life, in person, just in front of you, or have the beautiful music playing all around you, the characters walking around that you can interact with. Those are all still things that are there to draw you in or draw you back if you can afford it, but not everyone can. I would much rather Disney shows those of the fan base that just simply can't afford to crap out a few $1,000s and make some of those items accessible to them so that they can maybe get those items at some point without spending an absurd amount of money to acquire them. I know there's probably someone who's going to tell me that's not how marketing works, that's not how business works. They make way more money doing the things that they do. I get all of that. I still don't think it's right, but I would just like it if at least Disney would humor. One day of the year, let's say May the 4th, they make all items at their locations accessible to everyone online. You can buy them online for that day, and then for the rest of the year, if you want to get them, you have to go to the attractions. I would say that's fair. Really, I'm just asking for Disney to show some mercy, especially in the face of this attraction that you spent an absurd amount of money on, I'm sure, that's now being closed. I know I'm not any kind of business person. I feel like it would be broadening your horizons, opening up more avenues for revenue to come in, and I'm sure you would still have people who would want to go to the attraction to get the stuff there because there's still that element of the immersion factor. I'm still wanting to go back to your Galaxy's Edge attraction, even though I've gotten virtually most of what I want to get there, because it's still a fun and cool experience to be in an area that looks like the Star Wars galaxy. But I'd love to know your guys' opinion. If this video does actually manage to make it to someone who's actually attended the Galactic Starcruiser, I would love to hear your own personal experiences. Did you have a lot of fun? Was it worth the money to you? Or was it not really the best investment for that amount of cash? Comment below, let me know, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya. Bye.